wasn't paying attention. Big surprise. Mom was usually all about Mom. Well, that or focused on the drama du jour of the Dory and Mike show. The doorbell rang, and with a sigh of relief, Jane eased around her mother. Gotta go. Me and Ava are spending the night at Poppy's, so I'll see you tomorrow. And boy, was she grateful to be spared tonight's theatrics when her dad discovered Mom was back. It was guaranteed to be filled with passion and fireworks, and having lived through both too many times to count, she was just as happy to miss the show. Ava and Poppy let themselves in before she could reach the door. They immediately surrounded her and, calling, "Hello, Mrs. Kaplinsky. Goodbye, Mrs. Kaplinsky," hustled her to the car. Daniel, the Spencer chauffeur, opened the Lincoln's back door. As Poppy dove into the back seat, he tipped his neatly capped head at Jane.
"Miss Kaplinsky?"
She always wanted to giggle at his formality, but she gave him a grave nod in return. "Mr. Daniel?" She climbed in sedately after Poppy. Ava plopped down next to her, and Daniel closed the door. The three friends looked at each other as the chauffeur walked around to the driver's door, and, clutching her hair, Poppy mimed a scream. "Can you believe this?" she stage whispered. "Tea at the Wolcott mansion!" She looked past Jane at Ava and asked in her normal register, "Why did Miss Wolcott invite us again?" "I told you, I'm not sure." Ava tugged on the hem of her dress to cover her pudgy thighs. "Maybe because we all talked to her at that dumb musicale thing my parents had. They were so psyched that she accepted their invitation. I guess she turns down more than she accepts these days, and everyone wants to have the party she comes to. But at the same time, my mom says Miss Wolcott's a genuine eccentric, and she was a little nervous that she might say or do something not done by our kind." She shrugged. "Dunno, she seemed pretty regular to me, except maybe for her voice. My dad says it's like a foghorn." "I thought she was interesting," Jane said. "Well, yeah," Poppy said. "She's been everywhere and done everything. Can you believe that she's been to places like Paris and Africa, and even flew her own plane until a couple of years ago? Plus, she's got that great mansion." She bounced in her seat. "It makes your place look like a shack, Ava, and I didn't think there was any place prettier than your house. I'm dying to see Miss Wolcott's on the inside." "Me too," Jane agreed. "It sounds like she collects all kinds of rad stuff." Ava pulled a candy bar from her backpack, ripped the wrapper from one end, and offered Poppy and Jane a share. When they declined, she shrugged and chomped off a large bite. "I'm just glad to get out of cotillion class. Any excuse to avoid butt-faced Cade Galari is a good one in my book." Upon arriving at the three-storied mansion on the crowded western slope of Queen Anne Hill, they were ushered into a large parlor by an elderly woman wearing a severely styled black dress. She murmured assurances that Miss Wolcott would join them shortly, and backed out of the room, rolling closed a long, ornate pocket door. The high-ceilinged parlor was dim and cool, the windows all mantled in velvet curtains. Eclectic groups of artifacts cluttered every surface, making a space that could easily contain the entire first floor of Jane's house seem almost cozy. Wow. She turned in a slow circle, trying to take in everything at once. Look at all this stuff. She edged over to a glass-fronted case and peered at the crowded display of antique beaded bags. "These are awesome." "How can you tell?" Ava asked. "There's no light in here." "Yeah," Poppy agreed. "Look at the size of those windows. I'd keep the curtains open all day long if I lived here. Maybe paint the walls a nice yellow to brighten things up."
"Ladies,"
a deep, distinctive voice said from behind them, and they all turned around.
"Thank you for coming."
In tailored camel slacks and fluid jacket, with a high-necked blouse as snowy as her carefully arranged hair, Agnes Bell Wolcott stood framed in the now partially open pocket door. A beautiful antique-looking cameo nestled in the cascading ruffle at her throat. She glanced at Poppy.
"You may open the curtains if you wish."
Without so much as a blush at being overheard, Poppy ran to do so, and the high-cloud, pearlescent glow of an overcast Seattle afternoon immediately brightened the southerly-facing room.
"Well, now, would you girls care to..."